25 upon 5 minus square root of 24 under square root. How do we simplify it? So first we need to rationalize the denominator. To rationalize the denominator, we need to multiply and divide it by the denominator, the conjugate of the denominator. So conjugate of x plus y is x minus y. Therefore, conjugate of 5 minus square root of 24 will be 5 plus square root of 24. Why do we rationalize it? Because in the denominator, we cannot have a radical. For this to be a real number, we need a number in the denominator. Therefore, to remove the radical, we rationalize it, and to rationalize, we multiply and divide it by the conjugate. We have to multiply and divide by the same number so that the question originally doesn't change, because if we multiply it with 1, then there is no change. So instead of 1, if we multiply it by a upon a, then also it won't change, because you can easily cancel this and this. Therefore, we multiply and divide by the same number. Now let's rationalize it. So it will be 25 upon 5 minus square root of 24 times 5 plus square root of 24 upon 5 plus square root of 24 under square root, or it is 25 times 5 plus square root of 24 upon, or 5 minus square root of 24 times 5 plus square root of 24 under square root, or it is 25 times 5 is 125 plus 25 times square root of 24 upon, it is in the form of differences of square, a minus b times a plus b. So we can write it as a square minus b square. So we can write it as 5 square minus square root of 24 square under square root, or 125 plus 25 times square root of 24 upon 5 square is 25 minus, we remove the square root with the square, so it is 24 under square root. Now 25 minus 24 is 1, so we write here 125 plus 25 times square root of 24 under square root. Now to further simplify it, we need to write these two numbers in terms of a plus minus b whole square, so that this whole square can remove this square root. So 125 plus 25, we can write it as square root of 25 square, because we can remove the square root with the square, then it is equal to 25. So we can write it as square root of 25 times square root of 25, then times square root of 24 under square root. Also, square root of a times square root of b, we can write it as a times b under square root. So this we can write it as 125 plus 25 times 25 times 24 under square root, or 125 plus, again 25 we can write it as 5 times 5, then 5 times 5, and 24 as 2 times 3 times 4 under square root, or 125 plus, we can rearrange it and write it as 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 3 is 75, and then 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 2 is 50. So we can write it as 75 times 50 times 4 under square root, then all under square root, or 125 plus, this is square root of 75 times square root of 50 times square root of 4 under square root, or 125 plus square root of 4 is 2, so 2 times square root of 75 times square root of 50 under square root. Now 125 we can write it as 75 plus 50 plus 2 times square root of 75 times square root of 50 under square root, Again, 75 we can write it as square root of 75 square, because we can easily cancel the square root and with the square, and it is equal to 75. And 50 as square root of 50 square plus 2 times square root of 75 times square root of 50 under square root. Now this is in the form of a square plus b square plus 2ab. If you consider 75 as under square root as a and 50 under square root as b, so this we can write it as a plus b whole square. So it is square root of 75 plus square root of 50 whole square under square root. Now remove the square root with the square. So we have square root of 75 plus square root of 50. Now we can further simplify it. Square root of 75 is 25 times 3 under square root, and square root of 50 is square root of 25 times 2 under square root. So it is square root of 25 times square root of 3 plus square root of 25 times square root of 2, or 5 times square root of 3 plus 5 times square root of 2. Now we can take 5 common here. So 5 parenthesis square root of 3 plus square root of 2. This is our answer. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.